Hey guys, this is Braxton with Trailspin, and this is the second part of a three-part podcast where Brandon and I both catch up. And so if you haven't seen the first part or listened to the first part, please go ahead and listen to the first part to understand kind of what we are talking about in the second part. And yeah, so we'll catch you in the second part.
How did you get into film? Like, how did you get into what made you want to pick up a camera? Is there anybody in your family that does that?
There is
Uh-oh.
my uncle. He had his own photography business, but that wasn't like he lived in North Dakota when we were in Chicago, so I had no like communication with him at all. The reason why I first got into photography, and it was because it was always an interest of mine. I've always been into different arts and stuff, and like graphic design wise, like I knew Photoshop before I owned a camera. And so I've always wanted to get into photography because I wanted to take my own pictures, because sometimes there were certain pictures that I wanted to edit. But what really gave me the push was freshman year college, track and field. One of my teammates had like a little point and shoot camera, and he was taking pictures of people like at a track meet or something like that. And I was like looking at the pictures and I'm like, these are trash. And everybody's like, oh my God, these are amazing. I'm like, these are terrible. I can do better than that. and also like I saw other photographers that were my age and doing portraits, and I'm looking at the photos. I'm like, these are bad. Like, and people are saying these are good. And like, wait, you got paid $50 for this really bad photo? It's a weird way to get into it. But then I was like, I ended up picking up a camera and started learning. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, I haven't really shot video or photos in a while. I think when I got back from Southeast Asia in February, I probably have shot like 3 music videos, and they were like low budget, just, 2-hour music videos, and that's it. So it's definitely, it was just like almost like a chapter in my life. Like I've acquired this skill, and I've made the decision to where I can either like really push hard and try to become like a cinematographer, which is what I wanted to be, but I want to do other things. Like I've acquired a skill to where I have the job that I want. I'm a remote photo editor. Now I want to do other things. Now I want to learn like music production. Like to me, whenever I do things, it's almost like I want to figure out the fun. And then it gets to the point where it's like, not a diminishing return, but it's like, now I have to spend like even more time to just get like just a little bit better at it. And I'm like, I'd rather use that energy for something else, because it's like, yeah, it's cool. Like it's really fun, but it's not that like I don't love it. It's just I would rather be spending my time learning something else. If
Yep.
that makes any sense.
To me, it does. I don't know if it makes sense to
Yeah.
everybody else listening, but that's some might call it my biggest flaw. To me, it's like it's the best thing about me. You know, I
Yeah.
do know how to do a lot of things pretty well.
Right.
And because
Yes.
like you said, it gets to a point where in order to be better, it requires way more energy and way more work to just get a little bit better. And I mean, it's a jack of all trades, master of none, I guess is a good way to put it. But if you had asked me 4 years ago if I thought that I would be running a company that does photography and videography, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't even own a camera.
Yeah.
How did I get here? You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like I want to grow the business. Like I know that I can. I know that I could scale up, but I don't enjoy it that much. Like
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, I would rather just be in the woods somewhere taking photos, and I really don't care too much about video. I don't want to make films or anything like that. I don't have the creativity to kind of put ideas like that together. I don't have the passion for it. I like that I'm able to like produce really nice video and make really nice photos. And lately people have been telling me that I should be putting more energy into photography. Like they say, you know, like your pictures are great. Your framing is good. You obviously know what you're doing. You should really focus on this. And then I almost feel like when people tell me that, I pull back.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't want to do that. Like, you're
Don't
not
tell
going
me
to
what to
tell me,
do.
you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do, which direction
Yeah.
I'm going to go. So I don't know. Like, I don't know where I would like to I don't even know if I'm enough of an entrepreneur to even give a shit about like putting the business together in a way that like it can be passed on and I could just have a passive income of like
Yeah.
I have my own photographers, videographers out in the field, and I'm not even editing. I'm just literally just gaining clients. I don't like that because I don't like talking to people. So like I don't like going out and meeting new clients and all that stuff. That stuff scares the crap out of me. I don't like doing it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I have no idea where I'm going to be a year from now. I know I know some of you know that my wife is almost an actual working practicing doctor, and obviously like that affords me some luxuries. Like I'm not going to see, if we've had hater comments that are like, oh, of course, like he does what he can, of course he has a $65,000 Jeep because his wife's a doctor. Well, listen, dude, like my wife doesn't even make as much money as you, probably, whoever made that
Hmm.
comment. Like she doesn't make shit because she's a resident right now. She's working towards that. But once we get to the point that it's like it's just us, and we moved to like a house in the middle of nowhere, and we have our little like homestead, and it's got a big barn that I can tinker in, and all I have to worry about is like raising our kid, and she brings home the bacon, and we get to take 3 months or 4 months of vacation a year. Like, sure, okay, not everybody gets that, but you know what, like she's worked her ass off for it. She loves me and I love her, and I'm lucky that that's the direction my life has gone.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I hope that the YouTube channel lasts long enough till we get to that point where I have like a little bit of like, disposable income and like a little shop to kind of mess around in, and I can just do whatever I want. You know what I mean? I do hope that you guys stay tuned for that kind of stuff. It's coming like 2-3 years from now. I would kind of want to set some cameras up and film some stuff like at home and talk to people, because that'll be my only way to kind of reach people. I'm assuming we're going to live in the middle of nowhere because I just can't stand the city anymore. It just gives me so much anxiety. I can't, like, my brother just moved out of New York City to Denver,
Ooh,
which is
that's
night and day. Really, it's a night and day difference compared to New York City. Like Denver,
that's
it's
true.
still a big city, but like it's not New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you guys have never been to New York City, like landing in JFK and walking off a plane and into the airport is like somebody just kicked a beehive. It is insane. So
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody would want to live there. And people are leaving mass exodus style. Like people are just leaving New York like crazy.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to live in the middle of nowhere and just kind of focus on what I'm into and like what you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I miss my friends, but I don't think I'll miss them so much that I need to live that close to them. So who knows where we'll
Right.
end up, but I don't know, man. Life is weird. And 2020 was extra weird. So
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
gives you a new perspective on things.
It honestly does. It honestly does. Like the whole everything that went down and everything just kind of like these past couple of years has helped me kind of think, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to do what makes me happy instead of just trying to I don't know. It's I go back and forth on a bunch of things. I'm like just like you, huge thinker. I'm always thinking. My mind's always racing at a million miles a second. Always thinking of like random weird ideas and like, oh, maybe I should do this or that or whatever. And right now I'm focused on just trying to like be happy and stay happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's kind of,
I will say that like I used to say to my wife all the time, like I don't understand why I'm not happy. But what I started to realize was that I am happy. I'm just not satisfied. And then I
yeah,
started to kind of look deeply into like, okay, is this why I'm always trying new things? And this is why I'm always like obsessed with like multiple projects at the same time. And I'm just looking for satisfaction.
yeah,
Now that the baby is here, like I can honestly say that like I've not felt happy. I don't know if I've ever been happy. Even when I was saying that I was happy, I don't know if I was, because the joy that I feel now is like it's insane. Like I don't know how to
yeah.
describe it. Everybody always says that if you're a father, like you get it, or if you're a mother, you get it. Probably if you're watching this, like it's like my wife said, like it's like somebody turned the lights on. Like
That's
even
interesting.
for her, somebody that I look at, that's somebody that is she's like I always call her my North Star. Like she's my rock. She's like who I look to when I'm feeling lost. Now she always has an answer for something, and she's always got a smile on her face. And I used to kind of resent her sometimes for being so happy all the time when I couldn't find it myself. But now, like now, I'm like, man, I get it. Like it's crazy to have a human being that you created that you can just be yourself in front of. Like I
Yeah.
dance, I sing. I'm not he's not judging me. You know what I mean? So like
Right.
it's incredible to and to watch him absorb it and to watch him just kind of see me be who I've always kind of always meant to be. It feels great, and that makes me happy. The fact that I'm able to be myself, even because even some, I mean, for the most part, I've always kind of been reserved in front of my wife too. Like I'm always kind of just like, if I'm myself, are you still gonna love me? You know what I mean? Like if I'm goofy and I'm having fun
Oh
because
yeah.
I'm used to like being judged like for
Oh
being
yeah.
happy. So, but now I'm like, I mean, when my wife is not around, it's just me and Roscoe. Roscoe gets to see the real side of me. You know what I mean? Like I love, you know, I'm dancing in the kitchen to him to some, you know, to some like Phil Collins or whatever. And like,
Mhm.
he doesn't judge me. He's a dog. You know what I mean? So like with the baby, like it's kind of the same thing. He's nothing's going to come out of his mouth that's going to make me regret being myself around him. So I feel like that's probably what's always kind of made me, it's the fear of being judged. It's always like, you know, feeling like you're not good enough, and like bringing of life into this world obviously makes me feel outstanding, like I did something good. And I always kind of wondered if I was going to be a good father, but the more time I spend with him, I have no question that he's going to, you know, he's going to be loved. And that's what's the most important thing. So I guess I guess I did find happiness, and I'm happy that I'm super thankful too. Is another thing too, is like, I don't know if I've ever been as thankful as I am now that he's healthy, that he's growing like he's supposed to, that
Yeah.
he's learning, and that, so I guess being thankful and being yourself are two keys to happiness for sure. But
Yeah. Happiness and just enjoying life has, this is when my thoughts of through Southeast Asia, like I always go back to like when I think of my happiest time, like I think of when I was like a kid. Sure, there's no obligations, whatever, but I was always like in the moment, not like no stresses about not thinking about anything else. Just like whatever we were doing, like I'm in it to win it, having the time of my life. And I feel like now I'm always just like overthinking things, just not present in the moment that is in front of me. Because I'm always thinking about the next thing. While I was on the Southeast Asia trip, I'm like, I'm gonna buy a Jeep or I'm gonna buy a vehicle. Like I'm thinking about the next thing while I'm doing like on this thing, and that's something that it took me a while to realize, and it's definitely something that I need to continuously work on and be conscious about. Part of it, I've been trying to get into like meditation and just basically trying to like almost calm my mind down and like calm myself down, because I feel like that's the reason why I can't sleep, because my brain is also going at a million miles a minute, and just like just being, almost like I'm trying to learn how to like just be
mhm.
and enjoy life, even if I'm sitting there not doing anything, like even if I'm just like, I don't know, going for a walk and just enjoying the present moment. It's a very like weird thing that I feel like I've lost and I'm trying to regain.
Yeah, and I feel like that's part of my addictive personality. Like, I mean, I like to drink. I like to be buzzed. There's something I've always talked about. Like those that don't know too much about me, and I know that I touched on this in some videos, but I come from a background of like late night like rager parties. Like, and I don't mean like hanging out with your friends until 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm talking like 2, 3, 4 day like hard binges of like hard drugs and lots of drinking. And I'm not going to say gratuitous sex because it's not the 60s and 70s anymore. You got to be safe. But I mean, in the rave scene, like I was a raver. Like, I mean, I started in like 99, 2000. I know I was late to the party and stuff, but like I got into like DJing. So then like I was just all about the party. Like it was always about like, where's the next place we can drive to and stay up for 3 days. And like some of the craziest experiences in my life have been because of that. But as I got older, some of my friends are still partying like that. And I mean, I just lost a friend like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, people don't lose that addiction. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of the people that I'm attracted to or that are attracted to me that end up in my life, I don't mean like I find them attractive. I mean like the people that end up gravitating towards me as a person are way too smart for their own good. And so their mind's always racing and they chase these things that kind of dumb themselves down. And I always found that the best part of the night was like maybe the second night of like partying hard, 7 o'clock in the morning, sun's just coming up, and like everybody's still awake from like 2 days ago, and everybody's calm. Like you're literally functioning on just basic functions of the body. Your brain is slowed down. Like you're so exhausted and you're so worn out. And there's been so many times in my life that I've been at that point that I've found peace, where I'll like look at like what's around me and go, what, and I'm present.
Right.
And so when you say that, like finding ways to be present or be just be, unfortunately for me, I used to chase unhealthy ways of doing that.
Yeah.
But that's always been where I felt the most happy, was when I was just so exhausted that I just couldn't overthink, and I couldn't like be worried about what's happening 3 months from now, 2 years from now, with this, that, or whatever. And now it feels a lot. I mean, I'm 40 years old. I mean, I'm much, again, I'm like, just like you, I've been meditating. I've been trying to find ways to just kind of exist and recognize and be thankful for things that are in my life that used to be overlooked because I was so worried about the next thing. It feels good. Like, it feels nice. I feel like I'm in a good spot in my life, like finally. And, you know, I still have a ton of projects. I so much unfinished stuff, like so much things to work on.
Of course.
I got to get the bus out of the hangar, and I can't figure out how to do it. Like, because my kid is awake like every 2 hours. Like, it's crazy. You have no time to like do anything. Like, I live my life in 2 hour chunks now, so I don't even have time to overthink things. I'm literally in survival mode. I'm trying to
Yeah.
keep a human being alive and trying to keep myself in the moment so that I can soak it all in and enjoy it and all that. And I haven't filmed any of it. You know what I mean? So that just proves to me right there that it's not a passion for filming things. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't have a passion for documenting. I just have a passion for doing like what I want to do at trying to be present. So it's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
We're getting kind of
Yeah.
deep, and we're only an hour and 35 minutes into this.
I like getting deep like that. I mean, this is our conversations is just getting super deep. But yeah, like thinking about just being present and in the moment, just like almost like a pure bliss. To me, I guess one of the things that I remember is, people talk about a runner's high. Some people will describe it in different ways, but to me, like a runner's high is like, you're not really thinking about anything. You're just like, to me, I almost think that was my meditation in a sense. Like my mind is just like calm instead of like, let me think of what about this. Oh wait, no, I have to do this. Oh wait, no, I have to do this. My mind's just like focused on like, I hear my breathing, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot what, huh?
I used to run. So like, I totally get it. It was like, you're focused on breathing. It's the same thing as meditating. Like in meditation, they tell you to focus on how your body feels. And when you get distracted, to focus on your breathing. So
I was gonna say, get closer to the mic. Yeah. I was reading a book. I forgot what it was called, but they were basically talking about flow state and, basically saying how this, this one worker that was working the assembly line, like an assembly line of doing the same task every single day, like they had to do it like 800 times a day. And that how like they were happy in life and how they were able to achieve this happiness. And it was because it was almost like whatever task at hand that was present, they would make it fun for themselves, if that made any sense. They
right.
would, like the guy that had the task at hand, he would
Not even on purpose, but just naturally.
Just naturally, yeah. So he would try to break his
Pause.
record.
We lost Braxton.
Oh, I lost you. But
Welcome
basically,
back.
he had like a record. like a timed record of doing this thing, and he would try to break it every single time. I mean, I would get bored of that, but somehow like he was able, I need to read this book again, but somehow he was able to like be in this flow of like, that's what he is concentrating on. And that's what his focus is on. But then like after work, he was working on like programming or something like that. So when he gets a promotion that he could work on the next thing. But yeah, it's definitely been hard for me to concentrate and on like one specific thing at a specific time. And part of it I almost think to blame is like our phones and like social media or just like different apps on your phones is you may be watching TV but scrolling through your phone and talking to somebody else. Like we're doing so many different things at once that it's almost like we're not even like conscious at that point. It's almost like we're the complete opposite of being present.
Yeah, and I know that that probably affects everybody differently, but is particularly damaging to people like us because
Yeah.
it's allowing it's catering to that to the style of like it's just the way our brains work. I used to joke, and actually I still say the same thing sometimes, but I've always just kind of wanted to be like not stupid. I won't say that stupid people don't think about things, but like naive enough to be happy, like just losing a little bit of grip of reality to like not be like stressed out or like thinking about things. Like I always figured like people that were like naive or like ignorant, you know, like the people that cut you off when you're walking through the grocery store, like the people that are just fucking oblivious to like everything that's
Yes.
going on around them. They seem
Yes.
the happiest because
Yeah.
they're in their own little bubble. Like
Yes.
they don't care how you feel. They don't
Hmm.
care what you're doing. They're just doing what they're doing. And I don't know if it's because they just are a little bit slower than you or I. Like, you know, I'm not trying to be pretentious and say that Braxton and I are smarter than most people, but I do honestly believe that we probably are smarter than most people. And the problem with that is like once you get to a certain level of like understanding of things, the majority of people are really dumb, and then like they just kind of get in your way, and they just kind of like they're not they're not aware of their surroundings, and they're just naive and ignorant basically. but
Yeah.
they're, but they're happy, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it seems like they're happy at home, it seems like they're happy in public. It's just like
Yes.
because they're able to, I mean, I guess because they're able to be present, because they only have enough of a cognitive ability to understand what's going on around them as it's going on. So like I've always just kind of wished that I could be at least dumb enough to like just dumb it down a little bit to the point that I'm like, well, I'm happy now because I just don't give a shit, I guess. Like,
Right. Yeah, I was actually having a conversation with my friend a couple days ago about this, and it was basically like, do I feel more intelligent than other people? And I would say, because like I'm always like doing new projects. Like you, I have all these different projects. Like, oh, I want to do this, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to look into this. I'm going to like, I'll wonder about things. I'm like, how old is Katy Perry? Look it up. All right. And then just think of just like random things. I'll wonder things. Think
rabbit holes,
huh?
rabbit
Yeah, getting
holes.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, getting a huge rabbit hole and just different things and different topics and just wondering of different things instead of just like doing it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like that's why I love my girlfriend, because she just, if she wants to do something, she's just gonna do it. She's not gonna look up no YouTube tutorials, or she's gonna figure it out and do it. Me, I'm like, whoa, let me watch like every single YouTube video there is to this thing and figure it out, and then maybe do it. Maybe.
Feel like you have half a chance if you do it that way. Like,
Right.
so do you, would you say that your girlfriend is happy? Like,
Yes. Yes. I would say that she is very happy.
and we're not attaching that to what I said before. I mean, I'm not going to accuse your girlfriend of being ignorant or naive or
No,
anything like
no,
that.
it's almost like
She's present.
we complete each other. She's present. Like there's qualities of both of us that we like we almost want in ourselves in a sense. Like we help each other in that regard. Like I'm able to slow her down and be like, wait, hold on. Like, let's figure this out instead of trying like a bajillion times and failing at it. But then there's times where she's just like, done. And I'm still like searching up on YouTube on how to do this.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, it's almost, yeah, it's kind of, it's a very weird thing to call it like intelligence. I would say it's different levels of intelligence. There's different like categories of intelligence. You know, it's like some people say street smarts versus book smarts.
Mhm.
I feel like there's even more to that. Like people can be more intelligent in one thing and less intelligent in another,
For sure.
and vice versa, and all of that, and all the different categories.
For sure. I know, I guess, I mean, even when it comes down to explaining like why, I mean, now we're getting like psychological and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
like I try to explain how people think and why people think the way they think. But personally, how it affects your happiness, like if it's being involved in all these different projects and constantly being distracted, shouldn't it just be an easy thing to like remove distractions? Like as far as intelligence goes, let's say that you're the smartest person in the world. Let's say your IQ is like 9,000. And but you're not happy, but you're smart enough to understand why you're not happy. Like you're able to analyze it. You're smart. You're the smartest person in the world. Would you be able to remove the things in your life that are not making you happy? Let's say I want to, you're going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make myself happy. And you're smart enough to understand how that process works, which I feel like you are. I feel like I am too.
Yeah.
Why haven't we done it? Like,
I think because that's not how do you be happy. That's not how you're happy. That's not happiness. You know, like that is not happiness whatsoever. Like, but I guess it really depends on what you define as happiness. But I think that true happiness really isn't like, oh, I'm gonna work out and like we think that it's something that it is that we can just like do. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to work out. I'm going to go to bed on time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You can still be unhappy. I'm going to have the greatest job. You can still be unhappy. Like anybody in any kind of situation can be unhappy, and everybody's different. And that's what I was talking about. Like what I have found is just literally like that pure bliss of calm, just present in the moment, living, not, no, your mind is not anywhere else besides what's in front of you. Your mind is not thinking about, oh, you're hungry. What are you going to eat later? Or the project that you want to do, or your interest, or how does he do this? No, you're just present. And what really helps me think of that is like kids. Kids are always excited and always experiencing different things. And like, it's because they're so present to what's in front of them. Like they are not intelligent enough to overthink or think of like, they're not thinking about like, that's kind of the reason why kids get in trouble. It's like they'll whip a toy at their sister or whatever, because like they're of course not quick enough to think. Like that's how kids are. They're just in the moment.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's one of the things that excites me about being a father is that I can actually like live vicariously through the eyes of my kid, and I've
yeah.
done it already. And it's like we drove around so I've put him in the car maybe 4 times, mostly for doctor's appointments. I think we randomly went somewhere. I like to went to Walmart or something, and my wife came and we left the kid in the car, and the entire time he slept.
Mm-hmm.
Today we needed to go somewhere, and my wife needed to go somewhere. She didn't need us to come, but I was like, let's just get out of the house. We'll take the baby with us. And I got one of those mirrors that sits on the headrest in the back. So now I can actually see what's, I can see him while I'm driving around. And today he
Yeah.
decided he wanted to be awake the entire car ride. And to look at like his eyes, like as he was just kind of soaking it all in. And I was just like, damn, like I can't imagine like what it must feel like if he could ever remember this, like 20 years later, 40 years later, to be like, yeah, that car ride I took, like to be able to explain like what that feels like soaking everything in, like things moving by at 30, 40
Mm-hmm.
miles an hour, like what does that feel like? You know what I mean? And I can just see it in his face. And like when I see it, I'm just like, man, that's just got to be cool. Like you just got a completely clean slate. there's nothing negative in his life. The only thing negative is, hey, I'm hungry and I got a dirty diaper. Like,
Yeah.
other than that, I'm good. Like, other than that, everything's great. Like, everything's brand new. Everything's fresh.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see that. Like, it's so cool to see that on his face all the time. And I mean, that literally, like, maybe that's part of it. Like, not only being able to be myself around him, but also seeing life through his eyes for the first time is like, it's just crazy. I mean, he's so fixated on things like ceiling fans. Like, we have multiple ceiling fans in our house, and for some reason we're in a room with a ceiling fan. He'll be upset and he'll just be like, he just stares
Yeah.
at the ceiling fan. I'm like, that kid's going to be an electrician, or there's something about that fan that he likes. It's just really cool. So, like, and I guess that, like you said, like, kids are just present. Like, they're just living. You know what I mean? They have no obligations. They have no responsibilities. They are not able to feel regret because they don't understand regret. They don't understand judgment. They don't understand all these things that we worry about all the time. So, like, I guess it definitely, I don't know. I didn't know what it was going to feel like to be a father. I didn't know what it would feel like to every day I'm just like, man, this is not what I expected. It is absolutely crazy. It's I mean, everybody I've ever talked to that is a father, that's a close friend of mine or whatever, they've all said the same thing. Like, man, it just changes everything. And I always just was like, well, it changes everything because now I can't do what I want to do in life, or I can't, you know what I mean? Now I'm like, now I got this anchor, like, I have to worry about him, but it's not what they meant. Like, what they meant was, like, life is just so different now. Like, it's like I'm seeing things for the first time again, because now I'm like, every time we go somewhere, I'm like, man, what is he thinking? Like, oh, how is he taking this in? And then I put myself in his shoes and I'm like, man, this is cool. And I just can't wait to do, like, all this stuff that just used to just bore the hell out of me. You know what I mean? Now I get it, like, why everybody wants to bring their kids to Disney World for the first time, or, like, you know what I mean? Because, like, when you go to Disney World for the first time, I've already been there. I've been there 5, 6 times. And now when I go there, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Oh man, I hope Space Mountain doesn't have a long line or whatever, because that'll be cool. That'll be fun. But, like, it's every time you go, it's less and less and less fun to me anyway. I know there's people that are obsessed with Disney, but, like, I cannot wait to bring him there for the first time, because, like, you know what I mean? Because it's just gonna be fun again. It's gonna be like all over again. It's gonna be like, man, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna have a good time. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
he's having a good time. So I don't know if that's what I've been waiting for 40 years in life, that I've just been waiting to have a child. When we made the decision to do it, it was for reasons outside of, like, she had, like, a medical situation where we thought maybe we wouldn't be able to have children. So we were like, well, if we can do it now, let's do it now. There is no perfect time to do it. And when she said, "Are you sure?" and I said, "Yeah," like, what's the big deal? Like, of course, yeah, I'm ready. You know what I mean? Because that's how I approach everything else in life. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah. Once you
here's
make the
the
decision,
goal.
you're going to do it.
How hard could it possibly be? Like, we'll
Yeah.
figure it out. We'll figure, when it comes, we'll figure it out. And that's exactly how we did it. But I had no idea. Like, I had
Right.
no idea how it was going to be. And I'm pleasantly surprised. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be harder. It's not that hard. I keep hearing I don't know why it keeps getting brought up in our household. At one point, oh, my parents were here and her parents were here, and her father, my father-in-law, kept saying, it's really hard to kill a baby. I was like, I don't know if that makes me feel better, but, like,
Yeah.
it does put things a little bit at ease. Like, because all the things we were worried about, like, one night he was kind of breathing heavily and we were just like, oh man, something must be wrong with him. Like, we got to run out and get a thermometer and make sure he doesn't have a fever. And she's got her stethoscope on his chest and we're, like, measuring heart rate and we're measuring breath rate and all this stuff. And we're like, oh, we hope he's okay. But no, he just had to shit. Like, he just had to poop. So, like, he was breathing a little heavy for a little while. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's just, and her father was just literally like, look, it's really hard to kill a baby.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, well, that makes me feel a little bit better. You know what I mean? And it takes a little bit of the panic away, but I don't know. It's been a wild ride. It's not what I expected. Like, it's definitely not. It's been amazing. It's been incredible. And I'm
Yeah.
happy we made the decision, but, and I always
Yeah.
joke and say, like, whenever you're ready for another one, I'm ready.
I'm ready. Yeah, I was thinking about of I think what helps kids is when they're experiencing new things. Like obviously it's new, and you're probably going to hate me for this, but hate me for saying this, but we're always doing new projects and stuff, and like what we're looking for to be happy from, what we are trying to find happiness from is the destination. It's about the journey, not the destination.
So it's just like overlanding.
Exactly. Honestly, like that is literally, it's about the journey. It's about
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
and when I
And
like
yeah,
figured that out, huh?
you and I are the type of people that are constantly thinking about the destination and not
Yes.
enjoying the journey. There
Yes,
was,
exactly.
I think it was the Mississippi. So in the episode when we were in Mississippi, like when we nearly died because the Jeep almost rolled and
Oh yeah.
we slept with the frogs and all that. And I think it was that episode.
It was our first night like actually camping after errands, I
Right.
think.
And, yep. And we were looking and we were driving around and at the point and in the episode we were still looking for a camping spot. And
Mhm.
you were getting frustrated. We had the LED bar on, like it was late and we were driving around and I could sense your frustration. You said something like, I don't know. You're like, basically we're looking for camping again. It's dark, blah 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 blah. I said, "Don't worry,
Mhm.
man. The journey is the destination. We're already here." And you're like, "Oh, the journey is the destination." Like, and you just kind of shrug. I mean, I don't know if you shrugged it off, but it did seem like it hit you in a way that, like, I was kind of expecting and hoping that it would, because that was one of the things that always. I don't remember where I heard it the first time, but the first time I heard it, I was like, "Damn, that's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep." And at that time when I had said that, it felt like that was the only thing that would make me feel better in my head and would make you feel better, was that, like, look, man, like, this is what it is. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We don't have shit to do tomorrow besides keep ourselves alive,
Right.
get a little more mileage in. Like, we don't have responsibilities. Like, when we took ourselves completely out of our day-to-day lives to kind of go on this grand journey. Like, and it was a million firsts for me, and it was a million firsts for you.
Yeah.
And that was like, I mean, it needed to happen. You know what I mean? For me personally, like, I needed everything that happened,
Yeah.
the goods, the bads, the everything that happened. And the fact that you came along and documented it so well, like, I could not be more thankful and more grateful for, like, how it worked out.
Yeah.
And, and honestly, like, Mike, who put us in touch with each other, I don't even, I mean, this friend of mine, Mike Bogan, you probably, I mean, if you watch the original videos way before Braxton even joined up, you know that I spent time with this guy, and he was kind of the one that pushed me towards filming the trip. And so I kept talking about it. And originally he was supposed to go, so I bought some camera gear. I mean, I bought these two like really cheap GoPros, like they were like $40 each on Amazon. And I bought my first camera, which was a T5i, Canon T5i, no, T6i. I think that's still, I still have the
One of
camera.
the beginner
Actually,
cameras. Yeah.
I'm using that camera right now. I'm not even using my good camera for this.
Wow.
And I kept talking about how I was going to document it or whatever, and I kept saying, I was like, for my friends, like for my family, for my friends, like we were talking about before. Like, I have friends that don't understand how I could just go out and do stuff. And so what I
Yeah.
wanted was this on record to be like, look, I just did this. Like, I just went and did it. There wasn't any, I mean, there was preparation involved, of course, but like in the end, I wanted to do something, so I did it. And he told me, he's like, you're not going to want to film this yourself. You're not going to be able to focus on going where you need to go and keeping yourself alive and filming the whole thing. And in the end, he was right, because I tried to do it on the second trip and it didn't work out well. And so he put an ad on Craigslist. And as an artist, as myself, as a DJ, like the whole for exposure thing, or like doing shit for free, he was like, oh, we're just going to put this thing on Craigslist. And like, and I was like, and what, like, what are we going to offer them? He's like, nothing. He's like, the adventure. I mean, that's, why wouldn't somebody not want to do that? I'm like, you're not going to find anybody worth a damn by putting an
Yeah.
ad on Craigslist and telling them
There's
there's no pay involved or whatever. And then, like, I remember the first like Google chat that we had, it was me, him, and you.
yeah.
And he was like, he kept saying, "You're gonna like this guy. God, rest his soul if he's still alive." I don't know. He had some medical issues going on. I hope
Yeah.
if you are still watching, man, I do kind of miss talking to you. You were a cool guy. But so when we talked that night, I kind of at one point, I don't know, like like your girlfriend was getting out of the shower or something, and he made some fucking comment about like,
Oh yeah.
"Oh yeah, like turn the camera towards her," blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Oh, I never realized that your mustache is like uneven on one side." And blah blah. I was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" You know what I mean? And the fact
Yeah.
that you stuck through all of that and still went on this trip, like for really like nothing. You know what I mean? I know that you
Yeah.
were experimenting because you said you wanted to kind of try van life out, and
Yeah.
that was like a good way to kind of jump into it. As far as I had known, you'd never gone camping, you had never done anything, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it. Like after the first time we talked, and I think when you and I just talked separately later on, a couple of
Yeah.
days later, the fact that you were just said that you were going to go, and I started telling people, I was like, yeah, this guy from Chicago, he's like a videographer, I guess. Like I had seen some of your work on your website, you know what I mean? So I'd seen a portfolio, and I was like, damn, like this stuff looks good. You know, I had no idea what to expect. Didn't know if we were going to get along. I mean, I had a pretty good feeling that we would, but I was just like, I don't know, like what, like you said, like what if you were like a total, like when we did that video where we were talking about why we were overlanders,
Yeah.
or why we overland or whatever. And you were like, yeah, like I'm happy that Brand is not just like a total psychopath or like a weirdo. But still, even if, I mean, what happens if 5 days into the trip and we're thousands of miles away from home and you're just with this dude who just, you don't like him? You know what I mean? Like what would
Yeah.
have happened if like you were just like, yo, I don't like this guy. What would you have done?
Well, I think what helped was we started working together even before the trip. We also went on like a mini trip. We did that cold camping thing. And honestly, I was like, I'm cold. I don't want to be here another night. Like, let's just go home. I want to edit this stuff. Like, I don't want to be here. But yeah, it was I think it was the night of us coming back from the cold camping when we were talking. And it was we were at McDonald's or somewhere. We were eating somewhere at the gas station. I remember sitting down and have a conversation, and that's when I knew I was like, okay, this guy, like I can be with this guy for a whole month and not have to worry about it. But there was some, I think, leading up to. I think that cold camping trip was our first time that we were together ever, like shooting a video or anything.
Yep.
I think.
That was the Badlands off-road park in Indiana. For
Yeah,
those that
and
are what we're talking about.
I think I told my mom, I told my girlfriend, they're like, do you know this guy? And I'm like, no. And they're like, so you're going camping with him? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, are you sure he's not like a murderer or anything? I'm like, I don't think so. So
Craigslist killers. Like, yeah, at the time, like the Craigslist killer was like a thing or something.
oh, really?
Like
I had no
yeah, there was
idea.
like a dude that was like, anyway.
Damn, that would have sucked. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's because part of, I don't know. I just feel like I can get the vibes from people like right off the bat. Like me and you already having a conversation. I was like, okay, this guy seems cool. Like he doesn't seem like a weird dude to be around or anything. So I mean, yes, it is a risk, but it is also like I would say two of like the greatest things that have happened to me have came from Craigslist. The first one was I met this dude named Rod Cleef. He's a real estate investor down here in Florida, and I responded to one of his Craigslist ads of needing a videographer, and I started working for him like full time for like 2.5 years when I was living down here. And now I have like that connection, and I work for him from time to time. But it's like I got a full time paid gig from Craigslist, and then the Trailspin thing came up. Like the people, how'd you find that? I'm like Craigslist, and
Yeah.
it does help that I am a 6 foot guy. Like I'm
That can outrun most like fast animals.
right.
And
I have a lot of variables in my in my favor. That's kind of one thing that I was talking about with my girlfriend when we were in Southeast Asia was that like our experience was great there. Like we didn't have any issues with anybody. But if we were like a white girl maybe there, like, I didn't feel any kind of danger whatsoever, but it's because I'm like taller than everybody over there. You know, I'm bigger. I'm like, I'm not like jacked, but you know, like,
Yeah.
so I've definitely have done a lot of sketchy stuff, but I do think that it helps that I am a guy. I'm a bigger guy. So yeah. And I don't know. I'm just kind of open minded to different things. And since I wanted to do the van life, I was like, this is a cool, like, dope. Like, I know about vlogging. Let's film it. Like, it just interested me. I'm like, this is a cool trip. Like, going out camping, driving across the whole United States, off roading. Like, I've never done. Let's do it. I don't know. It's to me, it's just, and also I would say it was, I like just moved to Chicago from Florida. So like I ended up stopped working from working for that guy, and I just moved to Chicago. So things were building, but I didn't have anything really concrete and set in stone. So
So
um
how did you end up in Chicago? Like, was your
so
girl wasn't your girl was going to school in Colorado, right?
yeah, so I used to live in the suburbs of Chicago, moved down to Florida after college with my mom, but then decided to move back up to Chicago. Part of the reason was I signed a modeling contract with BMG Models up there. And then another reason was just I wanted to expand my cinematography and photography. And being down here in Florida really wasn't cutting it for me. And so decided to go back to Chicago because I have family there. I know Chicago. I have some connections there. So I came back and I was living in like a family friend's basement at that time when I moved back. So I mean, it was just the perfect time, really. I mean, I was just looking for projects and different stuff to work on, and that came about, and I was like,
Yeah,
I can't
that's a
pass it
bold
up.
move.
Like,
Yeah.
I can't pass. This is a month out of my life that I got to take out and do this thing. Like,
But like you said
I,
before, like you're running the risk of like losing your clientele. You're running the
yeah,
risk of losing your apartment or
but I didn't really have that much established yet in Chicago per se. And so I was using it more as like a portfolio piece in a sense
mm,
because of all the different content that I could capture out there, but I never really did just because like I never really knew kind of what like my brand was going to be. And of course, going through Trailspin, it like actually being on the trip, things and ideas evolved over time, but it was just that moment of responding to a Craigslist ad. Yes, I responded to every single Craigslist ad that needed a photographer, a videographer. But then, like, once kind of figured out that it was legit, I was like, I can't pass this up. Like, this, I want to travel. Like, this seems like a very cool, very interesting thing to experience. So, and
yeah,
now
and it ended
I'm
up
all
being pretty cool. You were one of three people that responded to that ad.
really.
Yeah, and
The other people are probably trash because I know there's a lot of trash on there.
one of them was like this guy. You don't remember his name? I don't remember either one of the other people's names, but one of them had like two Canon like cinema cameras, like
Dang.
C600 or C400 or
Yeah.
something like that. Because I kind of had a vision of like once we were reaching out to somebody to film it, that was like, and we're going to start a YouTube channel. I think I had already had the name. I already had the name at that point. I probably was
Yeah.
already doing videos. I think
Yeah.
I
I think
already
you
had
did.
some
You were.
vlogs up or something like that.
You did.
And so I was like, I'm pretty sure whoever I bring along, I'm going to want them to be like a personality or a character in the in this YouTube channel. Like I didn't
Yeah.
want somebody that was going to be like boring or just stay behind the camera and it was going to be all about me or whatever because I'm just not. It's just not who I am. And so he was kind of weird to talk to him. He was a nice kid, you know what I mean? He was young and he was super into it. He was like, I don't need anything. Like I'm down. You know, he wanted to go on this trip and he
Mhm.
was super down. The other guy was this guy who was just like, well, I can't do it for free. And I was like, well, obviously I'm not going to, I don't expect that, I was like, if I'm being honest with you, I don't expect anybody to respond to this ad that's going to be like, yo, like, yeah, for free, like for
Yeah.
sure. And especially somebody that has like a multitude of equipment or anything like that. So like, when you were the third person and you responded to the ad, and Mike told me that I was going to get along with you, and he's like, "You're going to be pretty impressed with this guy." And I was like, "He's like, plus he has like everything. Like he's got
Yeah, I think
everything."
I talked to Mike before. I think I was
First.
on
Yep.
phone. Yeah, I talked to him first.
Yeah. And so once I had met you, I was like, I was super impressed by your portfolio, and I knew that we were going to go along because because that call with us and Mike was so strange. There was things that happened during that call where we were kind of looking at each other like, what the fuck? Like what is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I knew that I don't remember if he dropped off the call at one point or you stuck around after the call, after he left the call. You and I stayed on the
Yeah.
call. Okay.
Hmm.
And I was just like, look, I don't know what this, I don't know about this dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. This is not the direction I'm trying to go. This is certainly like not, I don't want this to reflect on the kind of person that I am or whatever, or what my goals are for this trip. And it ended up working out that he ended up like not being able to go. And then it was just going to be us. And then, um, what I noticed right off the bat, and I didn't expect this, was from the very beginning, once the camera was on, because I remember like we went from like we hung out a little bit, and it was mostly about me.
Yeah, I was behind the camera.
Yeah, when we went to Indiana, like you were not on the camera,
Mm-mm.
and then we went to Leo's and did some installations and stuff, and you were kind of on the camera real quick. And like, how many guys does it take to blah blah, what, I don't remember what it was, but I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
he's got a little bit of a sense of humor. This is cool. Like this will work. But even still, like I was expecting to like leave the trip, and you were just going to document the whole thing. You were going to be in the background, and we went to New York together. We spent a few days in New York, and you got to meet some of my friends that are kind of like in a world of their own, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there was a couple nights that we were up super late, and you were just on your laptop. You were working on that video that you guys did in the desert or whatever, which was super cool, by the way. If
Oh
you
yeah.
you want to see some cool shit and you haven't checked out Braxton's YouTube channel, like you should for sure check it out. That video is kick ass. Like I just thought that was so cool. And you were
Thank
working
you.
on it the whole time while you were in New York. And
Yeah.
then even still, like we did the Lights Before Lockers video, and then you were starting to like kind of like develop this like on camera personality that like I
Yeah.
hadn't noticed up until that point, because well, you hadn't really been on camera, you know what I mean? I started to realize like what you were doing was you were thinking like a filmmaker as you were documenting the trip. So like you knew how to, you were, by the time we got to North Carolina and started the trip, you already knew how to push my buttons. You already knew like hot button topics that would like make me react a certain way or whatever. And like you were thinking outside the box. You were thinking about the final product before we even really got the trip started. And
Yeah.
I'm so appreciative of that, because that has made all the difference. You know what I mean? Like we only have fans because you were thinking that way, and because your on camera personality was not necessarily who you are to a T.
Yeah.
It was this character that you developed, and I think I think that's incredible. You know what I mean? You are still like in real life. Like this is the real Braxton. If anybody's wondering, not the Braxton that was like on for the first few videos. And as the trip went on, like you obviously got more comfortable being yourself and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it just kind of worked. It kind of worked really well. But yeah, like just if anybody doesn't know the whole story of how Braxton even became part of this or whatever, like it was literally like just this guy that originally was supposed to do the trip with me was like, we need to reach out. We need to find somebody to film this. And I was like telling him, I was like, as an artist, as somebody who, no way would any, like if somebody's like, hey, you want to DJ my wedding? We'll drive you there, and you got to bring all your equipment though. You know what I mean? And I know that you have a DJ business, but you're just gonna have to take some time off, and you're just gonna have to do this or whatever. And I guess if like I was a DJ, had never done a wedding before, and I decided like, okay, well, this is good experience. If I want to keep doing weddings, then maybe I would
Yeah.
consider doing it. But still, to like take 6 weeks, because originally we were like, this is going to take 6 weeks. Like
Yeah.
I'm taking 6 weeks off work, so this trip could potentially take like that long. And we remember in the beginning, we kept saying 50 days. I think it ended up being like 34 or 35 days or something like that.
Yeah.
But just the fact that you like, not only did you come on the trip, not only did you bring like a shit ton of like really good equipment, stuff that was like super useful for the trip. I mean, I'm pretty sure you brought like lapel mics and you brought like a Zoom recorder and all that stuff. We never ended up using it, but
No.
you were ready to like make a movie. You know what I mean? You were
Yeah.
like you came and you showed up and you were like ready to do your thing. The fact that you not only did you do that, but you like developed like this personality that meshed really well with like the whole concept of the channel. Not only did that, but were you inexperienced just like I was, and we were both experiencing things for the first time, so that was cool. But then you like documented the whole thing and edited the whole thing, and just were doing it on the fly and uploading videos, and we with only a 2-day delay. And there was so many days that me and Braxton had to drive around looking for like just
Oh yeah.
anywhere that we could like upload, because we never dropped the ball. I think one day we didn't get an episode out, right? Like,
Yeah. That was probably the biggest negative about the trip, driving around for Wi-Fi.
yeah, we wasted so much time and so much gas, and like leaving all these really remote places to like drive into like a town, just
Yeah.
to sit in McDonald's parking lot, and then getting to a McDonald's parking lot and realizing that their Wi-Fi sucked and that like it still wasn't like what we needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that for sure like took a lot of the fun out of it. Damn, like I mean, you just knocked it out of the park. You know what I mean? And I know that people have recognized that, and I know that that was like a part of the appeal of like what was going on was people watching our channel grow
Yeah.
from nothing to just exponentially. I mean, the growth was exponential, and then after Expo, like I mean, it was on and popping after that. I mean, after Expo, when we headed out to the Colorado sand dunes, and that was the night that we were hoping that wherever we were camping, we were going to have access to the internet because we had applied for monetization of the
I
channel.
remember that.
Yeah, we were just like hoping that like it was going to be like an immediate response. And anybody that's wondering, we didn't get approved for monetization until after the trip was over, which
Yeah.
means that all of the views and everything that we got during the trip and during Expo, we didn't get paid for. And neither did YouTube. So, I mean, that's really them dropping the ball, but that was super frustrating. Like, because I mean, like we went so hard at Expo, and we went so hard to make sure that we were doing everything that like would trick the algorithm into thinking that we were like this great channel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that stuff that we did correctly was just kind of wasted. Like,
And
which is
it's so
crazy.
much easier now to become like a partner or be monetized now.
Really, like
It
the
is, yeah.
requirements are less, or
Yes. Yeah. So requirements are much less.
wow.
But yeah, it's much appreciated. Thanks for saying that. And it's kind of like I didn't really like now that you explain it, it is that's I think something that I just naturally do in the sense of like I didn't want to put myself in front of camera right off rip because like I'm coming onto like your project onto your channel. So I was like, let me kind of figure out how he is or who he is. And then also it's just kind of getting comfortable, getting to know each other because that's how I am with most people. Like when you first meet me, I'm going to be very reserved and quiet and not really say much because I hide my personality until you like really get to know me. And that's kind of the one thing that I was just waiting to see kind of I need you to understand me first before I start like screaming in front of this camera so you know where I'm coming from kind of a thing. But yeah, I mean it was just things like really started clicking for me. Just I was like researching hardcore on like how to vlog. Like I kind of did vlogs before, but up to this trip, I was just like, okay, it like opened my mind in the sense of I was filming this for like you per se. Like that's you're my client basically. I like instead of
Right.
it being my own video, like okay, if this is for a client, like I was able to get more ideas thinking that way instead of just filming for myself. Like filming for myself, like, hey guys, here I am on top of a mountain. Like it's like a weird. It really changed my thought processes and it really helped me kind of think on like what is needed. And um, I remember one night I think I texted you. I think this was before our trip. Maybe it was during the cold camping, but it's just something just clicked to me on like how to tell a story through a vlog and like what to show and what to say. But it was definitely it took time to kind of figure out like where am I, like, where is the channel, who is Brandon part of Trailspin right now, and then where do I fit in? And it was very easy for me to fit in, as just being, I was myself probably times 10
Mhm.
on the camera, just to make it entertaining and stuff. So that is the end of this second part. There is one more part ahead, the third part, and yeah, it will come out soon. So thank you for watching and listening, and this is Trailspin. We'll see you in, or hear you in the next video. Peace.